All right, everyone, we are here with some more Resident Evil, but doing we are doing the Mercenaries mode. There's only 3 maps, 4 characters. That's smaller than the original game. Hopefully, they add more content later down the line. Got a totally different layout than his original playstyle. Let me real quick. There. Got that thing set up properly. Yeah, it's working. Sometimes the audio on my thing gets a little janky. All right, stages. Villages. All right. Okay, so we get 2 minutes. Here. Oh wow, it really just start you off like right at the very beginning of the game. Literally just the beginning of the game. So typically in Mercenaries mode there's like a timer that you can collect. At least I got a laser sight. Ah. Nice. Mayhem mode? What is mayhem mode? What? How is mayhem mode? That's crazy. This must be the original difficulty for the game, where if you if I wasn't doing hardcore mode, every headshot would just cause the stun. But can I like stack my mayhem modes? Damn, lots of points. Let's take a look. I need to boost the volume a little bit more on my friggin' thing. I don't know why, but my game is being really quiet. Excusez-moi. At least I got something going here. Need to kill this guy too while I'm at it. This is ridiculous. Whatever the hell this game, whatever this mode I'm in right now is absurd. What the fuck is going on? Okay, I got hit finally. Maybe I'm invulnerable or some shit. Why does my handgun do that? What is mayhem mode? What does this even do? I do not understand, but I love it. Don't love that though. Damn, things like insta-die when you melee them in standard difficulty. Got a pretty good combo here going right now. I'm not gonna screw it up. How am I doing munition-wise? I'm doing pretty damn good. Let's change my loadout a little bit here. So this way. There we go. And I can move this. A good spot. I can dig that. If I hear a freaking... I do hear it. Oh, give me a break. Things are way easier in this game mode than other game modes, or at least in the standard game mode. In hardcore, it was way harder. Where'd you come from, buddy? All right, I'm guessing that signal means that there's a chainsaw in the field, right? Man, why is my game so damn quiet? There he is. All right, let's activate mayhem mode. Mayhem mode kind of feels like I'm cheating a little bit. This is a little ridiculous. It's so different from the original one. I mean, it's so similar, but so different. That worked out well. There we go. Climb up here. What I grabbed. How much health do I even have? Okay, that's why. Should be something in here, right? That worked. That was close. That was super close. Oh my. Easy, easy there. You guys back the hell off? Okay, am I about to die? Okay, no. Not yet. Shit. Oh, shit. Oh, no! The fucking bitch snuck up on me at the very end! Oh, my. Okay, I don't know why, but my audio is incredibly quiet. Let me get this figured out here. I don't care about it going on. Wow, I still get it, even for losing. So even if you die, you can still get the record. This is a lot more forgiving compared to the original. In the original, you had to survive in order to get a record. She fucking snuck up on me. What a bitch. Okay. A little more. I feel like what is going on? Why is everything so quiet? The master volume's brought all the way down. That's why. Now it makes sense. I was like, why is it so damn quiet? I can barely hear it. Shit. What is this tune? You? Excuse me? Works for me. Excusez-moi. Let me slip on by. Oh, I love that wall splat. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, sons of bitches. Okay. Still alive and well. Where are you going, buddy? Okay, get out of the way! This is problematic. Alright, Mr. Chainsaw's on the field, right? Is she behind me again? Oh my. Oh no, no. That's just this asshole. Oh damn, he died. Things are a lot tougher on hardcore mode. Holy shit. Too much going on. Blow up. You know what? fucking go. Except until that moment. Here he is. There's the big boy himself. What's this do? Oh, it gives me more mayhem. Are you shitting me? Get your ass down. I'm not done with you. Okay. All right. You assholes have been a real pain in my ass. Sit down. Mr. Saw, you over here? Yeah, Mr. Saw's over here. Okay. Geez, this mayhem mode is absurd. Moving, keep moving, keep moving! You son of a bitch! Load. What the fuck? What? There's two of them! There's so much going on! Okay. Throwing! Oh my god. Move, 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 move! Fucking unbelievable. Ooh. Ugh. Why are you here? Oh my. This is so bad. Save. Or not save. Pause. Oh my god, that was close. Hi. Awkward. Oh my god, let go. No! You freaking... Ah! I'm not happy. I worked so hard to get there. You gotta be shitting me. Nice. Shit. That works. There's one downstairs too. Oh, you shitting me? This is getting awkward. It's problematic. Let's go. Let's go more. Go again. And I killed the boss too already. Not quite what I was aiming for, but hey. Go. Man, that motherfucker is durable. Excusez-moi. Balance you. Go. Keep moving, keep shooting, keep moving, keep shooting. Hit me. What is this mode? This way? Oh my god, because I wasn't paying attention to my health pool. Oh my. That gives you one full. There we go. Up here we go. Fuck. Not what I wanted. Nice. Are you shitting me? Okay, sit down, guys. Chainsaw. That's a fucking chainsaw. That's right next to me, ain't it? Shit, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. Nice. I got it back under control at least. I even run faster too. Good. Got 2 bosses on the field. Hey, are you dead? Probably not. Definitely down on R. wonder, does this have an exclusive on it? Is that why it's so damn powerful? Awesome down, huh? How much munition do I got? Not a lot, but enough to at least put a dent in that guy. There's 3 of them now? Relocate. Yeah, I've got it. So absurd. So many. Choke him with choke point. I'm here again. Okay. Ah, the cheat's so fast. Back to that later. Okay, there's only one left. Where's she at? Where's the last one? Gotta be shitting me. Down. Alright, I don't know what my health is at right now. Time to move. What am I doing munition-wise right now? Not the worst, but not the best either. Need to keep my eye out for munition. There we go. Ellie. My God. I swear I've like cleared out this entire village. There's a way to kill everything. Wow. Damn. Wow. I did not expect that. I did not expect that you can kill everything. Whew. Take a little break here. Oof. Okay. So, all-rounder balanced fighter. During mayhem mode, his abilities increase attack power, speeding greatly. Luis has good firepower, but weak close quarters ability. During mayhem mode, he can set dynamite with R3, which explodes after a certain period of time. Okay. And it has a powerful weapon. Great effect against zealots. Catapults. Pretty cool that they have Luis' character play as. Dude, his animation stuff sloppier than Leon's, I will admit. A lot more aggressive. Boy, that damage. No joke about the damage. Oh, he can get it like almost immediately. What the fuck? Please, what do you have for axe? Okay. You know what? I dig it. Actually, a pretty damn good ability. My health. That works. Not quite the way I wanted it to, but it works. At least we really need to work on your attacks a little better. Son of a bitch. No idea what the fuck's going on right now, but I know that I'm about to die. I don't know why, but Luis, you feel a lot slower than Leon in terms of movement. That firepower is no joke. Not good. Not good. A doorway this time to the left. That's a problem. I get him. Damn, I got him. Can't believe that. Problem. Big problem right now. Already another boss? Ah, dude, this is getting ridiculous. There he is. That is so overwhelming. Oh my god. Browser's been added. Oh my. That is so tough. Jeez. I don't think I need the thermal. I think I need this to be on the right. This to the left. Nice. On! Those fucking catapults! Where's he at? Dude, I can't even move right now. Still in it. Ah, that reticle. What are you doing? Okay. Dude, seriously, those fucking catapults. Finally, that one's down. Oh, good. Another one? Good. Oh my god. Where is this thing at? There it is. Oh my god. No, not another one. don't even know where the fuck to look. Ooh, do we want a Resident Evil 5 remake? I'm glad that this was better than the Resident Evil 3 remake. I agree with you, Kira. I love how well they did Resident Evil 4. This is an incredible remake. And same thing with Resident Evil 2. Incredible remakes. This one and Resident Evil 2 are great. Resident Evil 3, it wasn't just some elements that were missing, because like you're mentioning, there was a lot of things missing. There was a pacing problem. There was a layout. Like, the thing about Resident Evil games, the way that they're laid out, especially Resident Evil 2, is that it's meant to be like the structure of like puzzle labyrinth style gameplay. You know what I mean? The whole idea is that you're supposed to be able to progress in these little areas that have like locked off areas, and you need items in order to progress. Well, the thing is that they did that. They shrunk that down significantly in Resident Evil 3, and not only that, because it is a remake of the third game. The original third game was a bit more on rails, but the big thing was that they had just enough wide open areas to keep you engaged in that small labyrinth gameplay. Additionally, the Nemesis was a more ever-present threat in the original game. Like, there was a large component of the Resident Evil 3 that I felt like that was missing was the RPG element that they added, the decision-making tree element in the original game. Whenever you ran into Nemesis, every once in a while it would activate this slow motion cutscene where you would have to make choices, and one of the two choices would force you to either alter your main storyline, but more importantly would alter your encounter with the Nemesis. So, like, for example, you could be in a kitchen, but there's a gas leak in the kitchen, and suddenly Nemesis comes busting through the kitchen. You're like, shit, I have to either hide in the basement or blow up the gas leak. If I blow up the gas leak, I kill the Nemesis temporarily right now, and that will at least buy me some time. If I go in the basement, well, I'll lose him for a little while, but the problem is, as soon as I leave the basement, he'll immediately find you. So there's actively like a wrong choice to make, and that adds tension in the game. That adds a lot of like missing elements in the game that were like critical to the experience of the original third game. There was also like pacing problems in the third game because everything was so small and so like neatly like linear. It just felt like in a lot of ways Resident Evil 3 was more DLC for Resident Evil 2 than it was actually a full-blown game. Like, it felt like it was rushed. I know that it came out a year later, so I'm guessing all they really did is just take the Resident Evil 2 framework and they really just plastered it onto the third game, marketed the hell out of the Nemesis without really doing justice to him. I feel like they really fucking screwed over Jill, and I really think they screwed over Nemesis, which were two really exciting characters in that game. It would have been wonderful to see them do a really true recreation of the game. So I feel like Resident Evil 3 is the remake of 3 is really inferior to the original third game. I can't say it's a bad game though. Resident Evil 3 remake is a decent game. It's a good game, but it's not great. It pales in comparison to the original game, which is funny to say because the original game came back in the 90s. So it's hilarious to me that that Capcom rushed such a really golden gem opportunity, and really rushed it. I'm glad that they didn't do it with this game. This game was fantastic. It's fantastic. It's everything what I would have wanted. Luis's story has more, or Luis has more story than the original. Luis's death was tragic, but it felt immediate. In the remake, he dies by Krauser's than Sadler's. Yes, I do think that the restructuring of Luis's story and his death is a lot better in the remake. And the reason why I think it works better is that I think that Luis's story is not only expanded upon on screen, but off screen. When you find my first playthrough, I stumbled on his I think his grandfather's notes that talked about Luis when he was a child. So we understand what Luis is invested, why he's invested in Umbrella, why he got involved in Umbrella, and we understand why Luis came back and how he got involved with the Los Illuminados. So I think that they did a really good job of fleshing out his motivations and who he is and why he got involved in genetic research. I also think they even did a better job by having him killed by Krauser, because the irony of the situation is that Krauser's killing him it's not really like he's dying because of the Los Illuminados. It's dying because he got caught in the middle of something the same way that the villagers were. It was very similar, because Krauser's motivation for being there was not really for Luis. Even though he was serving Sadler, he was there for Leon. And I think that smart storytelling element really worked out in their betterment. You're mentioning I had doubts about Krauser being in the remake because newcomers would ask themselves who is Krauser and what is his story with Leon, because no one is going to look for his RE Darkside Chronicles. Krauser's origin story in the Darkside Chronicles should be remade as a DLC or make it into a CGI movie like the Resident Evil Death Island. So here's the thing. Resident Evil 4 original came out before Darkside Chronicles, if I remember correctly. I think it did. And they still, you know, I think that Krauser did a really good job of being explored in this remake. But I also think they did a good job in the original too. The difference between Krauser in the original game and in the remake is that Krauser in the original game believes that the world has fallen into disarray, and that Sadler is offering or at least not Sadler, because he's actually working for Wesker in the original game. In the original game, he views that Wesker has a method to bring order to the chaos of the world. He doesn't believe that the governments of the world can do it. So he puts his faith in Wesker instead. While in this one, we see that he's a broken man. I think the story does a little better in this one about exploring the fact that he is so broken from the involvement of his war efforts that I think they do a good enough job of exploring why he was broken. But I agree with you. I would love to see a Resident Evil 4 DLC covering Krauser's downfall. But what I would say that the problem at hand with Krauser's downfall is that you would be having him face other human beings. I don't think that would work out too well. I think what would be better is that we see Krauser's involvement with Sadler and how he gets involved. It would be interesting to see that Krauser would get to the village and the villagers attack him immediately because he's American, and so Krauser doesn't really, or not Krauser, Sadler doesn't trust Americans. So Krauser fights his way through, and as we get through each chapter of his story, it would be interesting if they added cutscenes back to his past, so we could see more of his past. And then every time he has a flashback, we get to the next sequence, and basically we just go all the way with Krauser all the way to the church, and then Krauser goes to meet Sadler, and Sadler and him could have a boss fight maybe, but at the very least it should end with the conclusion that Krauser and Sadler have a philosophical debate in which Krauser succumbs to Sadler's influence and decides to join Sadler's cult at that point. So I think that that's an opportunity that they could really explore on. I don't think, like, I haven't watched many of the CGI movies. I'm not as big into the CGI movies. I think I stopped watching after Vendetta, I think it is. I can't remember. There's Degeneration, I think I remember seeing. I think it was Vendetta. It was the last one I watched. I'm not a big fan of the CGI movies. I think the CGI movies are great for exploring the original's timeline, the original Resident Evil timeline before they decided to do the remakes. So I do think that making a CGI movie of Krauser's expansion would be not the best opportunity. I think that there's a golden egg here for DLC. Obviously, I think that I think the idea of seeing Krauser, and also there's the Separate Ways story, which they seem to have hinted at the very end of the game. If you've played the original, Separate Ways is Ada's additional story beats where you can see Ada interfering behind the scenes in the original game. So that's probably likely to be a DLC, like a massive expansion to the Resident Evil 4, and they'll probably charge you like $20 for that. If that's a good DLC, I'll definitely pay $20 for it. You know, I don't like the price gouging, but if it's as good as this and they have it's pretty extensive, like the way Separate Ways was originally, then I would say it's worth the $20. I'd gladly pay for an extension that's that large. But yeah, I would say that that'd be great. The only bosses that are missing in U3 is the U3 boss. Nobody wanted the island section to return, but I'm glad they brought it back because I wanted the regenerators. Yeah, I think the island section is actually one of the best parts of the game because it's the natural progression towards where the game has gotten. I think that the natural progression of where the story has gotten in this remake, and as well as the original, is that the game has gotten more and more action-packed, and at that point, using any current existing assets would really be useless against the player. So adding like war zone elements to the game and also like really waging war against Sadler is the natural progression of not just the story but the gameplay format. You got to really up the ante. That's a big thing about video games in general, is that as you get further and further along in the story and get further in the progression, the stakes need to keep raising. So it's the natural progression. So I think that people that think that they don't want the island back, I don't think that they want the element to be still scary. I think what they really want, I think that if you told them that like you want the generators back, I think they would agree. They love the generators as much as anybody because the generators are horrifying. But I think that they wanted the game to be completely scary from the beginning to the end because there's a bit of a mood shift at the very end of the game. But I do think that the progression of the story and as well as the progression of the gameplay goes in that direction naturally, and there's no way around that. And I think it's better for the game itself as well as the franchise in the structure of the story as well. I think what you're talking about, U3, you're talking about the It boss, right? The boss where you have to, it's the thing that fights you on the cargoes and you have to drop the cargo and then it falls and then it chases you. The It boss, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think I noticed that boss was missing as well, and I do think that boss, it wasn't needed, but I do think it's a missed opportunity. I think that boss is actually quite interesting, and they really could have explored it. I actually really liked that boss in the original game because the first part of the boss fight is not really a boss fight. It's more like it's a puzzle fight, and then it transitions into a boss fight. So I do think that they missed out an opportunity to recreate that boss, but I do agree with you. If nobody, maybe Ada could fight the U3 boss in the DLC, I would say that would be one of the best things they could do to recreate that boss and include it in a DLC package, whether it's Ada or Krauser. I would be fine with either or, but it would be interesting to see extended story bits. The U3 boss, the creature you fight in the cage containers. Yeah. The boss fights were great. Yes, I agree. Krauser's knife fight felt like a fight, not a quick time cutscene. Yeah, when it comes to Krauser's knife fight, I think it's one of the best remakes of that sequence because they still added a few quick time events by adding it naturally into the game and making it feel like it's naturally part of the gameplay, as opposed to it being an entire cutscene that you just QTA at. That said, the originals, as much as I don't like quick time events in cutscenes, if the quick time events are really friggin' cool and really well, like they do a lot of variation, I don't mind QTAs. I don't mind them. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're good gameplay structure, but I don't mind them. Krauser's QTA fight scene in the original game is fantastic. When I always told people that there are ways to do QTAs and there are ways not to do QTAs, I always mention that the Resident Evil 4 boss fight with Krauser, that is the proper way to do a QTA, because like any moment kills you, but more importantly, like it's a different animation of death and different cutscene every time. While if you like go to like God of War 3, for example, if you fail a QTA, then the QTA, you take damage, but you can reignite the whole QTA sequence all over again. So it's basically you're just watching the same animation over and over and over and over again to get it right. And I felt like that was pretty good in the original. This one did it even better. It blew me away. I was so blown away by how good they did the knife fight scene, because not only did I get to fight Krauser with a knife and make it feel tense and interesting, but it also felt like it was so interesting to watch the fight so organically, because it looked so like choreographed. But you've seen all these animations before. You've seen all the animations because you've been doing all the animations already. You've been doing the slashing and the stabbing, but suddenly it felt like a real fucking knife fight all of a sudden. I was like, wow, they really amped it up to 11. I was so impressed. I loved it. I so loved it. Knife fight felt like a fight, not like a quick time event. Yep. The lake monster doesn't have the right giant tentacles in the mouth. Yes, it doesn't. I think the design of the lank monster in this one is a little weaker. I think that they could have, it had been me, if I had been able to make the design of that monster, I would have thrown eyes all over its back and body, so that way you had like a spot to aim at while you're trying to throw the harpoon at it. But I do think they still did a pretty good job with it overall. I mean, it's meant to look like a salamander. It's not like a lot of people think it's a giant fish, but I don't think it is. I think it's a salamander by the structure of its body. It looks like a salamander. I don't like how the voice actress for Ada is getting trolled. It's on a thing to dislike the voice, but she didn't need to be trolled. I think she did a great job. I don't know what people are trolling her about. I think she sounded sexy. I think she sounded smart. I think she had like that deepness in the voice that showed maturity and growth to her character. I know that of course it's always great to have the original voice actress from the second one transition over, but I do think watching Ada progress in that way was a smart choice ultimately in the end. I don't think it hurt her in any way. So I'm not exactly sure what kind of drama is going on with the voice actress getting trolled. If there is, it's probably just a bunch of silly guys being silly. And you know, eventually, you know, they'll go away. You know, people ignore them and they'll go away. Capcom has a habit of changing character voices all the time. They never settle with just one voice actor. And that could be not necessarily a Capcom issue. That can sometimes be an issue regarding like contracts. You know, for a long time now, voice acting now has changed a lot from back in the early 2000s, even before. Now, like, if you covet a voice actress's voice and you want them in your future projects, you got to get on top of it quickly. So there is a good possibility of that. But I don't think that the new voice actress did a bad job. I think she did a great job. I had no problem with it. The enemies' voices sounded amusing in the original. In the remake, they sounded truly, utterly the influence of Krauser. I think you mean Sadler. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the voices sound great. I think the big thing for me, like the things that they said, you know, kind of slipped under the radar for the most part for me. I did hear it every once in a while, but I didn't always hear it due to the carnage of the game. But what I did notice is screaming. The amount of screaming in this game that actually sounded like guttural and like very deep within like the psyche and deep within their heart, that made me feel like really unsettled when they got close to me. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. The masochistic side of me in some capacity was like, man, that is intense. That is so intense. I want to give that fucking voice actress a golden star, you know, because she did such a good job. there was so many moments in screaming in the screaming moments in the voice actresses and actors when I was fighting the Ganados that was genuinely frightening and fantastic. At first, I didn't want the island section to return. They could move underneath the castle where the experiments would be in total secret. But they do go. You do go underground. You do go to the the basement to see all the torturing that goes on. But if you're saying like they could have made a tunnel that went further deeper underground, then you see like a giant secret lab underneath the castle. Here's the thing, if they had done that and eliminate the island section, here's what again, with just natural progression in story and natural progression in game, the same thing would occur. You would be going into a fortress that's underground this time. And when you go underground, the fortress underground is going to have all these defenses that are meant to keep outsiders out and it's going to be designed like a fortress. So at the end of the day, you're just going to have to penetrate a fortress. So really doesn't make a lot of sense to just move the segment underground because it's going to be the same thing, just underground. That's it. It's just going to feel more like Resident Evil 2 underground sequence. So I think that the island section actually works out to its betterment. I think it, in my opinion, I think what it does is that it just naturally progresses to a more aggressive game. But more importantly, it adds like traps that are a little bit more intricate and more demanding of the player, where you have to stop and think because you have so many tools at that point in time in the game. You have so many weapons, you have so many like so much experience with fighting what you fight that anything else that they throw you is really just gonna kind of fall short. So the best thing to do at that point is just amp up the difficulty by adding a more difficult location, you know. So I do think that is going to be the case. The island section was more Sadler's backup plan in case his plan for infecting Ashley's with the Lost Plagas had failed. Actually, I don't think that's quite how it worked. So from what I noticed when I was reading a lot of Sadler's diaries as we were getting further and further into the end of the game, Sadler knew that the island was short-lived. He knew that the island would not live out very long. He only needed it only because of the component that he was afraid that there was a third party involved, and he needed security as a countermeasure. Not only that, but he had paranoia about the followers that he had. So he had the island retrofitted with fortress and traps to counter someone, but he knew, and he was informed about this, that it was never going to last. It was not sustainable. It would never be a long-term plan. So he really used the island as a fortress, mostly designed for the idea of if Ashley is infected, we need to get her to a safe place that is secure. Because immediately after she gets infected, the first thing they do, they send her to the island. Because when you fight the boss fight with Salazar, you watch her get transported away from Salazar, and then she is taken to Sadler. At which point they begin their plans to move forward. Salazar or Sadler at that point knows he's cornered, but he knows that all he needs to do is just send the daughter and just wait out Leon and Ashley to be fully succumbed. What he didn't know was that Luis, not only did he betray him, but Luis had his own strategy. He had his own not just laboratory, but he had a method to remove the parasites, and Luis never informed Sadler about it, because once Luis realized what Sadler was planning, he was making strides to undermine him. So it's not that he had it as a backup plan. It's more like that was part of the plan all along. He just didn't realize that Luis was 2 steps ahead of him by the time it was too late. And at which point, when he realized that Ashley was no longer infected, that's when he decided, well, if you are not going to remain infected, then you must be absolved. You must be killed in order for you to understand the error of your ways, because now we have to reinfect you, or in Leon's case, we have to eliminate you and then bring her back and get her infected again. The whole plan was to send Ashley an infected into the presidential area of the US, and then spread the infection from there as things get, collapse and fall apart. You were mentioning I do want Code Veronica to have a remake. I think you're in the vast majority of many other players. That's all I hear about. When I did the survey for which game do I want remade, I mentioned that I would like a remake of Code Veronica, and I would also like a remake of Resident Evil 5 and 6. Because I do like Resident Evil 5 and 6 to a small degree. I liked Resident Evil 5 less than 6 because of the pacing issues at the time. But the theme and the idea that goes behind Resident Evil 5 is very interesting. Like, for example, I thought that they were going to go with this idea of going into the jungle, and you were going to fight a bunch of tribes people that were infected. And then eventually you would transition from the jungle into the shanty town that we see at the very beginning of the game, where it's like broken down urban shanty town vibes. And as you progress further, it would move more into high tech. So I thought we would start in the jungle and move further in, like jungle swamp, and then move further in. And that's where I would think that if they would do a remake, that's where I would start. I would start Resident Evil 5 beginning in the jungle, where Chris is infiltrating inside African, war-torn, or not war-torn, African, jungle areas that are like swampy and slow, and you have to deal with like gators, you have to deal with infected people that are coming at you. You have to choose when to walk through swampy areas, kind of like a little similar to like Snake Eater, like a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, where you have to like traverse swampy, quick, like muddy areas. That would be interesting in my opinion. That would add like environments like impacting the gameplay. I'm glad we were able to see Albert Wesker in the Resident Evil 4 remake, but people are saying he doesn't have his British accent. I didn't notice one way or another. I don't know. Does Wesker? I thought, my understanding of Wesker's original character, he's supposed to be, I don't think he's supposed to be British. He's an American, isn't he? I don't remember. I don't recall if he was supposed to be British. I mean, I know the voice actor was British, but I don't think it really matters. He's a STARS operative. He's based in the US. I suppose he could have been like a British operative at one point in time that, took on jobs for STARS, but I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think a lot of people that are being very purist about the story, they're just looking for some things to complain about. I think it's overall really good. I think they did a good job. Do you want to see changed, add, or removed in Resident Evil 5 Remake? I would say if I were to see a Resident Evil 5 Remake, I would say if you've played the original Resident Evil 5 Remake or original Resident Evil 5, one of the best parts of the game is the DLC, which is where you start by investigating with Jill and Chris inside the mansion in which Wesker is hiding out at. This sets up the events of the 5th game. So if you have the DLC, it tells you all about this sequence, and it's actually horrifying and it feels Resident Evil. That's what they need to change. They need to make that the very beginning of the game. Then you get the cutoff sequence, and then I would say move it where you move into like a dark jungle area. It's at like, I would say like dusk where there's still light, but as you go further and further into town and make your way there, before long you move into areas where it's more remote and getting darker, and then before long you get attacked by wildlife that's infected first, and then you get attacked by people that are actually infected, and it would be more interesting in my opinion. I also wouldn't like, I also would say like one of the things that I was thinking that they could dive into is adding this idea of occultism into the 5th game too. Like imagine like shaman type of vibes, like very tribal shaman. So a lot of people that are being infected, they believe that they're like very similar to this game, where they believe that they've like been touched by God. They believe it's some kind of spiritual divine intervention. And you could see how like Wesker has brainwashed this whole segment of this society here, and he has succeeded in influencing these people and then infecting them with his virus, with his Ouroboros virus. So I do think that would be interesting to watch. There's a lot of ways that they could play it out, but one of the biggest things they would need to do is reduce the amount of action, like, because Resident Evil 5 original feels really much like an action movies, like an 80s action movies, and it feels really weird. It has a massive identity crisis, and I know that some people feel that Resident Evil 4 original has a slight identity crisis midway through its story, but the thing is that it progresses in that way. It moves in that direction naturally, not just story-wise, but gameplay-wise. And I think that that's what's missing in 5, in the original 5th game. Same thing with 6. Like in 6, it just starts off bombastic, Mr. Fantastic, to the point at where you see so much explosions, you see so much craziness, and so many things, and so much gunfire, that it just doesn't feel like Resident Evil. You can have carnage, but the thing that defines the Resident Evil games is close quarters combat, where you feel really like claustrophobic, but also this decision making with your resources. Resource management is like the critical component to Resident Evil games. That's why they call it survival horror. The survival part is managing your resources while navigating the labyrinth of the map and being locked and blocked while these things are coming at you. And the horror is the theme of the enemies that are coming at you and the kinds of monsters that you have to deal with. And that is something that I think that this new development team has kind of figured out. I think they stumbled quite a bit with Resident Evil 3, and they try to keep that true. They had a lot of tight corridors, but they forgot the labyrinth part. They had it like at the very beginning of the game, where there was a small labyrinth where the nemesis would actually chase you around the labyrinth, and I thought that was the best part of Resident Evil 3 Remake. But at a certain point, they forgot what they were doing, and they just put it on rails in a very linear way, and it no longer felt like you were being chased by nemesis. You were just going into the next cutscene, and then he would just boss fight him, or boss run away from him. And that's a lot of what the original Resident Evil 5 would have. You would have just these linear moments, but not a lot of labyrinth moments. This game has a lot of that. You may not use a lot of puzzle problem solving in terms of like opening doors, using the right key to get to the right location. You may not be doing those, but what it does do is that it creates all these bottlenecks in the map, so that way you can not only control your enemies, but if the enemies swarm you in the right way, you can get blocked off, and that creates the tension of the game. The map design is designed in a way to be labyrinth. Like if we look at the very first map right here, for example, the way that the village is designed, I'm sure I can look at the map, right? Can I look at the map? Pages? Yeah. Maybe what I can do is let's Kira, you're mentioning originally in the early Resident Evil 2 prototypes there was going to be a man-spider hybrid and T-virus infected gorillas, but they replaced it with Lickers and Mr. X. Oh, really? I actually didn't know that, but I think it was the right call. I actually had no idea about that. You know what? We'll begin professional mode, I guess. Start it. Why not? Originally in the early Resident Evil prototypes, there was going to be a man. I do think that overall they did a good job by remaking it that way, because in my opinion, Mr. X is probably one of the best monster designs in horror franchises. There's something eerie about not only something that's not human, but something that's dressed like a human being, you know? There's something eerie about the idea that what you're looking at is not human, but it's placating the look of a human being. Because you know that his skin isn't normal, you know his face is normal, his size is not normal, his strength is not normal. What he's capable of is clearly not normal. But he's dressed like a normal dude. And there's something very frightening about that.
Somehow I made it out, but too many others weren't so lucky. I was asked later to join a top secret government program.
Watch videos of Resident Evil 1.5, which is Resident Evil 2 prototype. Okay, let's take a look here.
Punishing missions nearly killed me, but at least I kept my mind off everything. If I could just forget what happened that night, the pain, even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
All right, I think I've got a video of Resident Evil 1.5 put aside here. I'll put it on screen here and we can watch it together, because I had no idea about this.
Why did you come to this horrible place? As close to nowhere that I've ever seen.
Let's just say, looking for someone.
That someone must be very important, huh? The chief gave the orders himself. Help him, he said.
I'm sure your boys didn't come on.
Leon feels like he's surviving with survivors, feels like he's struggling with survivor's guilt. I don't think that he's just struggling with survivor's guilt. I think there's also a component that the statement of the whole idea of like things are going to be different now is that I think the idea of Ada dying in front of him, he thinks that Ada died. Of course, he's probably received intel at this point as a Secret Service agent that she's probably alive, and he's probably been informed about this. But he got out of that hell thinking that he couldn't save her. So Ashley represents that second chance to him, that opportunity to save someone. And I think that's kind of what he's struggling with.
I think this is it. Nature calls, huh?
Again, I do think, though, he is struggling with survivor's guilt, but I do think that there's a little bit more to it than that. I think that there is the element of, like, wishing that he had done something different. If things had been different, he could have saved her. It's kind of similar to what I think about is, if you've ever seen, okay, I'm not going to spoil it if you've seen Stranger Things, but there is a moment in Stranger Things where a character feels loss, and during that loss, they wish that they imagine all the ways they could have saved them, you know, and it's a little similar to that. I wanted Leon to be Leon to be surprised to see Ada for the first time since the Raccoon City incident, but he felt like that she probably survived, which she did. I think what is more likely is that I think Ada is probably considered to be a terrorist from the government. I don't think that Leon knew that she survived. I think that Leon was probably informed by his operatives that they know what she is up to, because at this point in time in the story, the BSAA has been established, which is the countermeasure terrorism unit. Because in this world of Resident Evil, after the events of Raccoon City, the terrorism has changed, as well as war has changed. People think now that what's more terrifying than like nuclear powers is biological weapons, which is kind of the whole focus of why these games originally are called Biohazard, not Resident Evil. Resident Evil is the English version of the game, but Biohazard is the name of the original series. So it's kind of meant to be the whole idea that the series is focusing on this element of bioterrorism, biochemical weapons, things like that. So I'm guessing that if it was me speculating where the story went, it's most likely that the US is probably, and many other counter-terrorist organizations are probably keeping tabs on people that were involved, not only with Umbrella, but also people that are looking to sell weapons of war to other terrorist organizations, which is pretty much what Wesker is. He's a bioterrorist. That's kind of what he is. So I found this video. I'm gonna pull it aside for us. Oh, I can't do that. Okay. Because this isn't on my PC. This is on my console. Why? Let's take a look here. Okay. What I'm gonna do is, here we go. Enlarge this. All right. So I've not seen this. I don't know anything about this. The Untold Story of Resident Evil 5 1.5. This seems to be a shorter video, something that's within the realms of tolerance. But it seems like someone did a story coverage of this specifically. So let's check it out. Oh. I'm sorry. I just realized you probably can't even hear the audio, right? Because I forgot to switch it. Here we go. All right, let me know if you can hear this too.
They were unhappy with, the developers took a risk of canceling the game and developing.
Okay, if you can hear that, let me know. Maybe you've already seen this video and you already know everything about it, but I always think it's fun to watch stuff with other people. I always enjoy that. One of my favorite things to do is to share things. It's my love language, is to be very oversharey and very conversation heavy about topics that I love, and anything regarding video games is a subject for me. I'm glad that the RE Death Island has Leon and Jill meeting each other for the first time. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie. I don't know too much about it, aside from the fact that they're marketing that Jill is part of it. I would love to see more stories revolving around Jill. I think Jill is a really underutilized main character. I think that Chris and Leon are such popular characters that there always will be, they will always sell games because they're such popular characters. But I think Jill is really underutilized. I would love to see more Jill in more Resident Evil games.
Scratch. In this version, there were quite a bit of key differences from the game that we ultimately got. So, in this video, we will be taking a look at these differences by fully explaining the story of Resident Evil 1.5. With that being said, let's get right into it. Leon's scenario included the characters Ada and Marvin, just like the final product. However, these three characters had a few key changes which I will go over now. Leon's role in the game is a rookie police officer, much like in the retail version of the game. However, instead of arriving to Raccoon City on his first day, he is defending the Raccoon City police station when the outbreak occurs. While he was on the roof, the infected enter and compromise the interior. At some point, he was to escape into the sewers with Ada and Marvin. Marvin was Leon's supporting character. Like Leon, he was a police officer defending the station from hordes of zombies and other BOWs. Unlike in the final version, he was to play a much larger role and was supposed to escape into the sewers with both Leon and Ada. Ada Wong was another one of Leon's supporting characters. Her name was originally going to be Linda early in development of 1.5, but was eventually changed to Ada. Linda may have just been a working name for development purposes. Her role is similar to Ada's role in the finished game, a double agent spy working with Umbrella, which at the same time is sent to retrieve a sample of the G virus. She has the same mysterious and sassy personality as Ada in the finished product, except that in this game she was a scientist.
Whoa, those things are huge.
In that scenario, there was also Elsa Walker's scenario, who was pretty much the equivalent to Claire.
Take a look real quick here. Whoa, those things were massive. Those fucking things were massive. Those things actually would be terrifying. Like, as terrifying as Mr. X is, those things would be horrifying. Oh my! You're mentioning Claire Redfield is originally supposed to be Eliza Walker, so that's who this character is that we're looking at right now. Let's see here. People are wondering why Jill looks more like her RE3 remake counterpart and not her Resident Evil 5 appearance. That's because of marketing. That's because of that. In terms of like storytelling, it would make more sense to go with the Resident Evil 5 appearance look. but they're doing that because it's good marketing, and that's the most popular version of Jill currently, is that version. Her modern version is really, really popular. It's a good remake, and it's just a good design. Like, people really are drawn to it. It's a good modern design. So I'm not surprised. I think that people that are wondering why, they're wondering the wrong reasons. It's purely for marketing reasons. It's a great way, if you want people to recognize who Jill is, you put the brand new version of Jill, because people recognize that. That especially younger audiences too, especially like Zoomers and very young folk. That's the ones that they're more familiar with. The zombies are a tribute to George Romero's zombie films. I'm not too familiar with George Romero. I'd imagine you're talking like Dawn of the Dead, right? Which I'm not. That's before my time. I don't know too much about that. I know of the film, but I'm not an expert about it by any means, or I definitely am not as familiar. I love how the I love how the chainsaw enemies are inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, I definitely can see that. It never actually occurred to me that they would be inspired by that, but now that you brought that up, I can see it all over the goddamn place. The way they spin the chainsaw around and hook it all over their body, I could definitely see it now. I definitely see it. Shinji Mikami worked on Resident Evil games. His favorite horror movies were Dawn of the Dead and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I could see that. That makes complete sense, especially after seeing his other project, Evil Within. There's a lot of references to those two movies in just that game, along with the Resident Evil franchise, of course. Because I know that he was not only involved with 4, I think he's involved in like the first 2 games. I don't know if he's involved with 3, but I think he's involved with the first 2 games and then 4. So, I mean, Shinji Mikami he's a golden. Anything he works on is golden.
This scenario included Sherry Birkin, a police officer named Roy, and a character named John. Elsa's role was a college student returning to Raccoon City after a holiday. At some point, she joins up with John and Sherry where they plan their escape. Elsa soon became Claire Redfield in the finished product. John was one of Elsa's supporting characters. He is a civilian who seeks refuge in the police station and possibly locked himself up in a
instead of the reporter, he becomes the reporter. Yeah.
This character would later go on to be Robert Kendo, the gun
Kendo!
Roy was an RPD officer in 1.5. It is assumed that his role was similar to that of Marvin. Judging from the available footage, it seems he somehow had connections with the character John that I previously just mentioned. In the game, he is first found in a small room, wounded and infected, and gives Elsa keys to John's cell. After rescuing John and returning to Roy, Roy turns into a zombie after pleading with John to end his life.
Okay, with all this information that's available to the public about Resident Evil 1.5, I'm assuming Resident Evil 1.5 might be playable, right? You might know more than I do, but is this game playable? Because if that's the case, I want to play this. Even if it's not voice acted, I would fucking play this. Because I played these games when I was a kid, so I'm very comfortable with the tank controls. And this looks fun. Even if it's janky, this looks fun. This looks a lot of fun. I would play this. I would totally play this. The mansion in Resident Evil 1 game is inspired by the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, that makes complete sense. There's a lot of inspiration from that. Robert Kendo's death in the original Resident Evil 2 was kind of humorous because he was standing behind a window where there were zombies outside. In the remake, his death is tragic. Yeah, I actually... so when I was a kid, because Resident Evil 2 came out, the original Resident Evil 2 came out when I was like 9 or 8 or some shit like that. I was really young. So I could see how some people find it to be humorous, but for me, when I was watching that shit horrified me. That stuff scared the shit out of me. The fact that they bursted through the window and the way that the character screamed as he was being ripped apart just really cemented the fear of zombies into my mind at that time as a kid. But I do like how they've retold Kendo's death in this game, or in the second game, because the voice acting about his daughter's death is so traumatizing. It's so traumatizing. When I first played through it, which I have it on my channel, when I played through Resident Evil 2, it was one of the first games I played on my channel, actually, for very first. When I played it, I got choked up. I actually had to swallow like my Adam's apple for a little bit there because I got so choked up. It was hard. I don't know if Resident Evil 1.5 is playable, but I've seen people playing it. I'll have to take a look around. I'm very curious because it looks cool. This looks super cool.
Is eventually shot and killed by John.
Wow.
Sherry Birkin was more or less the exact same in both versions. She was a supporting character for Elsa and would be pursued by William throughout the game. Annette Birkin, Chief Irons, and William Birkin were three characters that were involved in both Leon and Elsa's scenario. Based on early concept art, Annette was also supposed to be infected with the G virus.
Oh, wow!
Her husband before her, though it is currently unknown whether this was supposed to occur later in the game or if it is a concept that never made it past its artwork. Now, Chief Irons had the complete opposite role in 1.5. He was a supporting character who would aid in Leon's story and Elsa's later on. Both his office and character are a lot less morbid in 1.5, and it also appeared that he was wounded at some point in the game. William Birkin was slightly different in 1.5. After being infected with the G virus, Birkin wandered around the factory and encountered both Leon and Elsa, calling for Sherry. He eventually makes his way to the laboratory, much more mutated and vicious.
Huh. So first off, I do think that the retelling or the restructuring of Chief Irons' story is way better in the final product of Resident Evil 2 original as well as the remake, about him being like a sadist and someone who enjoys hurting people and he's corrupt. I think that actually adds a lot more interesting dynamic because it adds the horror that the horror is not just outside, it's also inside people as well. And that makes you feel more isolated and alone while you're dealing with those events. So I think that's nice.
Now let's talk about enemies. In the prototype, the zombies were significantly more gruesome and tougher, continuing to crawl towards the player even with their body below the waist severed. In this game, it was possible for a zombie to continue walking and attack the player even though its head was blasted off. However, once the zombie grabs the character, they would push it off and will immediately fall to the ground. In addition, the zombies were able to climb on and jump off ledges and get up from crawling, which wasn't featured in the final version. Crawling zombies that bite ankles were capable of crawling on top of the player and killing them with a neck bite. While not present in the final version, it did make its way into the remake of the final version. In Resident Evil 1.5, the appearance of the zombies were far more varied, including fat zombies and multiple female zombies. Crows and zombie dogs share pretty much the same role in both versions, with dogs attacking the player in outside areas. This version also included a different breed of dog, as seen by the German Shepherd zombie dogs that would attack the player in the RPD shooting range. The web spinners were supposed to hide in ventilation tunnels before attacking nearby enemies.
So, if you've ever seen any of my other streams, during my Bloodborne streams, I have a really bad case of arachnophobia. I discovered that I had arachnophobia because of Resident Evil 2, because of the fucking hairy ass spiders. That's when I realized that I was afraid of spiders. And this thing is right up my alley of do not touch, just grab a flamethrower and burn it alive. Take the house down with it too.
William Birkin was to be far more monstrous, able to kill other infected creatures. William would also mention Sherry's name multiple times during his search for her. A giant alligator and small crocodiles were also featured in a huge tunnel area in the sewers, where a fight presumably were to take place. Two notable enemies in this version which never made it into the final version were the man spider and the infected gorillas.
These are the ones you're telling me about.
It was originally conceived with a more modern look. In the release version, it was changed to being an old building refurbished by the police as a headquarters. To find examples of old buildings, the team snuck into a mansion in Japan to take photographs, deciding that it would be easier than flying to the United States and back. 1.5 is shown to have a wide range of weapons at Leon and Elsa's disposal. Both Leon and Elsa possessed a combat knife. The weapon had its own inventory slot, and if Leon or Elsa didn't have a gun equipped, they would be able to draw it by pressing R1 plus square. Originally, Leon's starting handgun was to be the Browning HP, a weapon that was one of the RPD's standard sidearms. Elza's starting handgun was to be the Sig Sauer P228. She was going to acquire this weapon off a dead police officer. Additionally, both Leon and Elza were originally both set to have burst fire handguns later in the game. These two handguns were the Beretta 93R and the Glock 18, though it is unknown which guns would have gone to who. The Remington 870.
Oh, that's easy. It's very clear that they would set up the Beretta to go towards the Claire counterpart, while they are clearly aligning the characters to Chris and Jill, and the Glock version would be clearly going towards Leon. That's pretty clear where they were going with that. Of course, we don't know for certain, but I can imagine that just fit the character archetypes in general, because the Matilda is effectively a Glock variation. Pretty close, at least.
Both Leon and Elza. Based on earlier footage, the shotgun was to be full length, resembling like it did in the first game with a synthetic black stock and pump. The Spaz 12 was another shotgun that was intended to be used for both characters. It was fitted with a plastic stock, it shot in semi-automatic, and was more powerful than the Remington 870. Hand grenades were also set to be in the game, a weapon that was most likely exclusive to Leon, as Elza had the grenade launcher. In addition, the grenade launcher was to have a standard stock rather than a pistol grip seen in the final version.
They really had a much more bolder game in mind.
Frag, napalm, and acidic grenades. The M202 Flash was also set to make a return in the first game, and was to be used during the climactic fight showdown against William. The flame
Since used against
that was available to Leon. The weapon
whoa, this is a cool map.
Version, but it was found in a different area. A metal pipe was set to be a second melee weapon in the game, which had a longer range of attack.
Oh, I recognize this room. This room right here. This is in Resident Evil 3. This room right here is in Resident Evil 3. Legit. It's restructured and looks a little different, but it's the same fucking room. I can tell because of the camera angle, and I recognize it from a totally different part. I don't remember that table being there. I don't think that table's there, but the structure of this room, they definitely reused this in the third game. I can't believe the developers snuck in a Western-style weapon, Western-style building to design the RPD stadium. One of the things I can't believe is how many weapons that they wanted to add in that they actually added into the remake.
And did more damage to enemies than a traditional combat knife. A Ruger Super Red Hawk was set to be the game's Magnum and was a weapon available to both characters.
There's a lot more overlap
in the game, but its design in the final release was slightly different. The HK-51 was set to appear and was supposed to be the game's assault rifle that was used by both characters. It did get used in the Mac 11 and was possibly to be unlocked after completion of the game, similar to the Gatling gun from the retail version of the game. Lastly, the Colt Python was set to make a return from the first game. The gun supposedly did more damage than the Super Red Hawk, which would have made it the second most powerful weapon in the game, right behind the rocket launcher. It is currently unknown how the player would obtain this weapon, though it is speculated that the player would have to complete the game under certain condition. And there you have it. That is a summary of Resident Evil 1.
That's actually really cool. That's super cool. Okay. That's actually really cool, though. I like that. If they released Resident Evil 1.5 as a final game, it still would have sold, but there would be no more RE games. That would be true. I think that the foundation of the gameplay structure of Resident Evil 2 is just so good that I don't think that it really matters what the game would have been, whether it was Resident Evil or not. I think it would have been a success no matter what, just because the gameplay structure was just really well done. Yeah, there are two titles, Resident Evil and Biohazard. We couldn't market the game with its original title because there was a game with... Actually got more to say. Go ahead and push on in the meantime. There's a game that already had the Biohazard title. Oh, so there's a copyright issue that they had. or what do they call it? Branding issue. Branding laws, or blocking them.
How far could he have gone?
The brand with the name Biohazard was already a game with a Biohazard tag. So to avoid a lawsuit, they changed the name. Yeah. Honestly, in my opinion, the Resident Evil name is far better than Biohazard. Not because of like the word evil, but because of the nature of it feeling more like the whole idea of the original game is that you're in a resident location that's evil, you know. And I think that the name really sticks with people a lot more. I think it's a better marketing in their case. So I think that, you know, obviously it's really hard for them to abandon the Biohazard name in Japan, but honestly, I would, if it was me, I would say let's get rid of the Biohazard name and just make it universally known as Resident Evil across the board. I mean, it's definitely more colloquial and more, I think it has more impact on marketing in general. Okay, so in this game mode, I cannot do parries without a perfect parry. I have to perfect parry.
Anyone home?
I just love this part. They really did a great job of this part of the game. The way that they restructured this whole beginning sequence to like moving downstairs and how you can kind of explore the room a little bit if you so choose is just a really good touch. It really is a good touch. I would love to be able to read what that's saying. I don't know how to read Spanish anymore. Not that I really knew how to read Spanish in the beginning. I just went to Spanish class when I was in high school. I knew a little bit, but I definitely don't know anything about Spanish anymore. Or at all. At any given point in time. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry to barge in like this.
Hey, sorry, but I'm going to sleep. Got work. You're welcome for the info I gave you. I'm a nerd. Good night. Well, Kira, thank you for being a part of this stream. Seriously, it means the world to me. Honestly, I'm a nerd. You ever want to come out and nerd out with me and talk about this shit and share some stuff with me? I am always around for that stuff. I love it. I love it. The world is being taken over by nerds. I love it. But anyways, you sleep well. Seriously, enjoy your day at work tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes smoothly for you. But yeah, seriously, thanks for the information. It was very educational. And I will be probably wrapping up here real soon myself. I've got my own priorities I got to tackle tomorrow as well. But I will be doing another stream tomorrow. I might play some more Resident Evil again, but if you're welcome to jump in at any point in time and share any nerdy information with me. It's always welcome because I love it. I love it. But yeah, sleep well. Good night. Oh yeah, he did.
This is not good. Man, that stinks.
see how the parry works this time around. He very did.
I read you. What's your situation? What the hell's going on? What was that? No fucking way.
Damn, that got a lot harder. And I'm dead. Yikes. Come back to this later. In the meantime, we're gonna go back to some more Mercenaries mode. He did all right. All right, Krauser, let's see what you got. Keep moving to avoid becoming surrounded in. Oh. All right, you got bow. Your bow is still there, huh? Explosive arrows, and he's got a TMP. He's got a TMP. Okay. Nice. Damn! Let's fucking go, Kraus. What is this attacks? Boy, what do you got going on here? When he dashes forward too. How much health do I have? He's got a huge health pool like in the original game. Damn. What is this ability? What is this ability? I do think that the original one kind of pulled it off a little better, but still pretty damn good. I'm having problems. Go. Let's fucking go. God, he's very close quarters now. This thing, like, completely invulnerable. I think he's got, like, no, like, effect on its durability whatsoever. Damn. Browser, you were fun to play as. We got a problem. Heal. Definitely now. Go. Browser, you have such a crazy knife game. Punk's last one. That'd be Wesker for sure. Maybe Wesker's fifth and final one. Punk. I'm gonna move it. Are so good. Gotta focus for that one. That was tough. Jesus, Krauser, you are ridiculous. You are ridiculous. As a character, you are absurd. Why not? Oh. 3 maps though. Punk. Strong melee attacks, explosive arrows at his disposal. Mayhem, he mutates and can deal full attacks. Plus attacks. Punk has not only a high performance SG, but a unique melee attack made it instantly kill. During mayhem mode, he has infinite ammo. Look at what he can do. How powerful is this thing? Oh, he's got it. He's got it. And he even does the hand thing. Oh. Mr. Grim Reaper. Damn, he's even got the kick. Oh my. What is that move? Got a hidden blade. He have frags? He does have frags. He is so broken. reload times what fucks them. Started. I'll find all those objectives. Get up to 3. kept it going. Never had transport.
the game.
Cannot believe I something. At the combo to one. Wow, this guy didn't combo to one. Okay, everyone, we're gonna wrap up for today. Late. I had a lot of fun playing this in Street Fighter 6 today. I will try to find some more time to do some of the original game mode on professional at some point in time. Kira, if you ever see this later in the future, it was fun talking with you. It was a lot of fun chatting with you about Resident Evil universe stuff. It was great having that chat. Those of you that will be watching this in the future, thank you for watching this in the future. Those of you that were here with me today, whether it be here for Resident Evil 4 or whether that be for Street Fighter 6, thank you. It means the world to me. So we'll be getting more content coming out real soon here regarding more Resident Evil stuff here real soon. So, and hopefully they release some DLCs in the near future for this game. I would love to see some additional content in the near future, but this game is fantastic. So yeah, but again, thank you all. Until then, I'll see you at the next stream. Till then, goodbye.